This is the Solo Coach podcast, where it's all about everything you need to build your business solo. Look, building a business alone can feel almost impossible. There's just so much to get done. That's just your doubt talking. I'm Michelle Sarah, and I'm here to talk you through building a one-woman coaching business from the ground up. I'm talking marketing, time-saving systems, AI shortcuts, client attraction, energy, and belief, all to help you find your way, no matter your age, stage, or starting point. Ready? Let's get going. I'm talking about what coaches get wrong about giving value in their content and how to use this Shift-Reframe-Bridge method to create content that builds trust without burning yourself out. You know, if you're a coach who genuinely wants to help people, you've probably had this thought, I'm giving away too much, right? What else do I have to actually charge for if I keep giving everything away for free? And yet you don't know where to draw the line, what's considered a value, and when it's time to charge for your knowledge. It's a common point of frustration, and I have definitely been in that place myself, because even with my background in marketing and all those years, as I think back, I realize we didn't have a structure that we went by. It's not like, there's this misconception. And I know that, it exists in some marketing environments for sure. It wasn't in mine, in that there is this kind of philosophy of winging it. You're building the plane as you're flying it, which is, something I still do. However, you're moving at such a fast pace, and it's go, 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 go. When you're doing something new, it's not always as if you're coming into it with a clear plan or structure to work from. You're winging it a lot of times because you're moving in these environments at such a fast pace. So, as I look back, it's like there wasn't a structure to determine what you're giving away content-wise for free and where that line is. So as I began to build my own coaching business, I started to really look at these issues because I felt the same thing. Like, am I giving away too much? I've definitely come across the philosophy of you can't give away too much. You can give away everything you know, and people are still going to pay to work with you directly. And that's true. It is true. But I think it gives peace of mind. And for a lot of coaches who are trying to, especially if you're brand new to this, the marketing world, you need something to go by. You need something to tell you how this all works. And one of the typical things is give them the what, but don't give them the how. And I've had coaches come back to me with this and with frustration because they don't fully understand what that means or what does that look like. So, here's the thing. It's like, I know we want to serve. We want to make sure that our content is actually useful. We want clients, and it can feel a little weird to draw the line between what's free and what people have to pay for. Like, internally, many of us experience this resistance to that. For those who struggle to charge, or to set a price on what they do, this can be even stronger. So there's this tug of war of I need to charge for my knowledge and my expertise, and yet I need to help people. And there's not this helping people doesn't often include charging. So let's talk a little bit about this idea of value and in our content, what's considered value. Somewhere along the way, coaches were told to give value, and so they did, and they burned out. Because giving value without boundaries isn't service, it's self-sacrifice. And ironically, it doesn't convert. So what does? Content that builds capacity. You have heard me talk about, or maybe you have, I have talked about before in detail, about looking at your programs and the offers you create from the perspective of how does this build capacity for more? I want you to look at your content in the same light. Content that doesn't just inform but shifts thinking, reframes beliefs, and opens a door to something bigger. Let me show you what I mean. This is something I call the Shift-Reframe-Bridge Method. This is a framework I teach and use in my own business to create content that moves people. You can use it in all of your content. And let's look at the breakdown of it, because I think that you'll find this really helpful. It helps to give you that clarity around, where's that line? Because a lot of us, yes, we can just give everything we know, and that's still okay. People are still going to pay to work with you directly. But some of us don't work well under that just throw it all out there, meaning there's no rules. There's no do this, do that. Here's the definition of what this is. Some of us need more structure. So this method, this shift reframe bridge method, can help to give you this structure. So here's the breakdown. Number one, the shift, consider this the what. Reveal a belief, objection, or misconception that's keeping your ideal client somewhere they don't want to be. This can be in relation to buying your program or achieving their big desired outcome. The what is what's keeping them from that outcome. It's a matter of, as I said, a belief or an objection, because an objection is rooted in a belief, or a misconception, okay? So think of it like turning on the light in a really dark room. They may not have known it was the belief holding them back until you name it. So you think you need a perfect offer to start getting clients. We're going to look at this from your perspective. You may think you need a perfect offer to start getting clients. Right there, I'm calling out a belief. You've been told to sell the outcome, but you're not even sure what the outcome is. So this is maybe a misconception or an objection. I can't do that yet because I don't know what that is. When you clarify the what, you meet them where they are. Number two, the reframe. Consider this the why. This is where you challenge the belief and show why it's costing them. The goal here isn't to convince, okay? It's to motivate the mind, to help them see something new, to feel the gap between where they are and what's possible. So if we call out that belief or identify a misconception or an objection, and then we show them why this is costing them, we can reframe it to help them see what's possible and also show them where they are as opposed to where they want to be. We're identifying that gap. So an example of chasing clarity before taking action just leads to more overthinking. Now, I want you to have clarity before you take action, but sometimes we have to just do things. We have to get going, get moving, take action in order to get the clarity, right? I know it's this conundrum, but yeah, it is what it is. So trying to serve everyone actually dilutes your message and repels the people you're meant to help. So this is a bit of reframing, meaning if your message is very general and broad, and again, I'm just giving you some examples here of this step in the reframe. Trying to serve everyone actually dilutes your message rather than getting more specific and dialing that down to a more specific niche, right? That can be an example of how we're reframing. Or just as I spoke about last week about your definition of success, and when you don't feel like you're successful, that we tend to get caught up in this idea of success being this very narrow, kind of singularly defined thing. I have a ton of clients, I have a ton of revenue, I'm successful, right? When actually, the fact that you're showing up every day and going through the motions of creating content, putting it out there, being visible, growing your list, making offers, emailing your list, keeping your energy up, despite the fact that you're not seeing immediate results, like you're doing all of these things that nobody really sees in terms of the level of work you're doing on a day-to-day basis, right? That's not public facing, that's behind the scenes. That is success. Do you know how hard that is to do that? Right? When nobody's patting you on the back every day saying, good job, right? You did it another day. That's hard. And that is very successful. That is success. So again, that's a reframe. I'm showing you one thing that I'm pointing out and I am reframing it. So that is another example of how we do this step 2, this reframe. And this is the why, because then I can say, this is why you don't feel successful, because you are not looking at the correct definition of success. And this is what it's costing you. Because if you give up on everything just because you don't have all the clients and all the money right now, you're depriving future self of experiencing the payoff. So again, there's the reframe. There's me explaining what it's costing you and why. Okay, so let's go to well, actually, let me just also say that this reframe part and this why, the reason it's so important is it's the insight moment. It's the aha. Okay. So if I go back up here to the shift, right? If I'm identifying a belief, a misconception, or an objection, calling it out and beginning to shift that into something else, we go into the reframe and we have that insight and that aha moment. Then we can give them the how, or at least what we're going to call the bridge, a little piece of the how. And the reason that's so important is that if you're back at stage 1 and they're dealing with a belief or a misconception or objection that hasn't been addressed, they're not ready for the how. So they're going to go into it with a whole lot of resistance and preconceived ideas and notions and objections. And if you have done any of the work around manifesting, if you're in advanced manifesting, my membership, and you understand some of these concepts around setting a success frequency, so much of what you're able to achieve, the opportunities you see around you, are determined by your state of mind and your belief, because your brain will literally shut out opportunities, meaning shut out your ability to notice them based on what you believe. So if they're in that place where we have not addressed these objections, misconceptions, or beliefs, they are not going to be ready for the how. They're not going to be able to see how it's possible and take action on it. So by doing this, creating content that addresses beliefs, misconceptions, objections, calling it out, and then reframing a bit, facilitating, building the capacity for having that aha moment, then we can give them a little bit of the how. So here's where you briefly point toward what needs to happen. We're bridging now to our work, working with us. This is not a step-by-step. It's not a free lesson. We're not giving away our course or our program. We're simply giving them a tiny little piece of it. This is an example. So I might give you a little piece of something I teach in my mastermind. Inside the mastermind, we work through this in real time with a framework that simplifies it all. I might give the acronym for that framework, which I've shared in many pieces of content, which is LEVEL, and the advanced version of that is Level Up. I can tell you what those acronyms stand for as a part of this bridge. I'm just giving you a piece of it. You still need more in order to take action on it, but I want you to be ready for that. I want you to build capacity for it so that you're ready to do something about it, mentally, emotionally, and capacity-wise. And that's the key. Your content is the bridge to your offer, not the offer itself, not a bunch of filler that isn't helpful. Many coaches default to teaching too much in their free content. They think that if they give everything they know, it will help people. Oftentimes what does happen is you overwhelm the reader or the potential client. And we're talking about in terms of a piece of content like an article. You create a sense of, I should be able to do this myself. And you try to shift a belief, build capacity, and activate possibility all at once, which can really be unhelpful. So think about it like this. If you teach every step of your method in a blog post or a webinar, they don't need your offer. This is what goes on in their head, right? Okay, I'm going to take this and I'm going to go work on it. It doesn't serve. So to serve means to get a person ready to take action that will end in success. We aren't building capacity necessarily, but overwhelming. It's way too common that people buy into a solution they're not ready for. You see it all the time. You've probably done it. I know I certainly have. They say that only 1% succeed. Well, now you know why. Because so many of those people who buy into a solution aren't ready for the solution. There is some internal resistance. There are some skills needed and some beliefs or misconceptions or objections that need to be addressed in order to be ready for that solution. They need to be able to actually implement it. And as coaches, we need to be designing our offers as well as our content in a way that helps to build that capacity, that's our responsibility to do that, rather than bringing people into programs they aren't ready for. If your potential client doesn't believe they can implement what you're selling, but they get so wrapped up in the excitement that they buy anyway, what's going to happen? It's likely that they're not going to finish it and they're not going to have a super positive experience. The Shift-Reframe-Bridge method solves this. It helps them feel ready, it builds capacity, it gives you enough clarity and direction to say, okay, I want to go deeper on this now. And it spares you the tug of war between giving enough, giving too much, and totally destroying your boundaries. So content that converts starts with belief. If you're wondering what kind of content to create next, don't start with what should I teach? Start here. What belief is standing in the way of someone joining my program, buying this offer, or saying yes to this next step? Then apply the shift, reframe, bridge. Name the belief or objection. Reframe it so they see why it matters. Show what's possible when it's resolved. This works whether you're writing a newsletter, planning a webinar, creating a carousel for Instagram, recording a podcast episode. It works for any content. And so the bottom line is that you're not being inauthentic when you don't give away everything. You're being intentional. Because teaching everything all at once, it doesn't help anyone. It overwhelms, it shuts people down, and it certainly doesn't help you. You don't feel good about it when you're left with nothing to charge for. But belief shifting content, that actually builds momentum. That's how you give value without giving everything away. It's how you get clients without burning out. And that's what builds a business that actually works. Hey, thanks so much for joining me for the Solo Coach podcast. It means so much to me that someone out there is listening. Now, if you know it's time to do something different about your business, and you know if it is, consider joining me for my Happy and Successful Business Mastermind, where you can get clarity, support, and a plan. I'll leave details in the notes below. I also want to share a free resource for you. If you haven't already subscribed to my newsletter, Find Coaching Clients, I encourage you to do so. I'll deliver to your inbox tips and strategies that make finding coaching clients for your business much easier. I'll see you next time.